What if being a quote-unquote good person is actually what's keeping us from getting what we want?
Yeah, it really flips the script on what we usually think about personal growth, right? Like, we're always told to be good, but what if that's actually holding us back?
Exactly. It kind of makes you rethink the whole thing. So in this deep dive, we're going to look at why those classic good person traits, like not making waves or always putting others first, well, why those things might actually be working against us when it comes to manifesting our desires.
Exactly. And a big part of it has to do with fear. Think about it. We fear success sometimes, or we fear standing out from the crowd, or maybe even the biggest fear, losing the love and acceptance of other people if we actually try to break free from what they expect from us.
Totally. I can definitely relate to that feeling of wanting to downplay my own achievements just so other people wouldn't feel bad. Have you ever gotten like a really good grade on a test and then tried to kind of hide it so your friend who didn't do as well wouldn't feel awkward?
Yeah, all the time. It's such a common experience, and it gets right to the heart of this idea of a social contract we all kind of agree to. It's like we're all playing by these unwritten rules to fit in and be accepted, and in exchange, we get love and belonging.
Wow, that's deep. So basically, we're trading our true selves just to feel connected.
It can feel that way, right? And that is that need for love and connection. It's a powerful motivator, much more powerful than fear a lot of the time. And so we end up stuck in situations that aren't really serving us because we're just terrified of losing that love if we step outside the lines.
I'm starting to see how this good person thing could actually backfire on us. But the source material we're looking at today actually goes a step further, right? It actually suggests we need to embrace being bad to truly manifest our desires. Now, I don't think we're talking about like robbing banks or anything, right?
No, not at all. When we're talking about being bad in this context, it's more about rejecting those limitations and beliefs that keep us playing small. It's about having the courage to decide what good means for you personally and not just going along with what everyone else says.
So it's more about being authentic and true to ourselves, even if it means going against the grain.
Exactly. It's recognizing that sometimes the best thing we can do for ourselves and even for the world around us is to break free from those rules that are holding us back and just go after what we really want without apology.
I love that. But to be honest, it also sounds kind of scary, right? Like, what if people reject us for being different? What if we lose those connections we've worked so hard to build?
Absolutely. Those are totally valid fears. But here's a question for you. If those connections are based on you keeping yourself small and hiding your true self, are those connections really serving you in the long run?
That's a really good point. So how do we even start to break free from this social contract and embrace our so-called badness? Where do we even begin?
Well, it all starts with just noticing it, like when you find yourself downplaying your achievements or not speaking up when you really want to, or putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own all the time. Once you actually start to see those patterns, that's when you can start making different choices.
So it's like becoming aware of all those automatic things we do that keep us stuck in that good person role.
Exactly. It's about questioning those beliefs that we've just taken for granted for so long and asking ourselves, is this really working for me? Or am I just scared of what might happen if I do things differently?
Okay, so awareness is the first step. But how do we actually deal with those fears? I mean, it's easy the time, just do what you want. But those fears could be really deep and powerful. They can feel pretty overwhelming sometimes.
No doubt about it. And that's where this idea of choosing your frequency comes in. You see, we're all these energetic beings, right? And we're always sending out vibrations into the world. And those vibrations, they're attracting experiences that match that frequency.
So it's kind of like we're all walking around with these invisible product codes that are determining what kind of reality we're going to get.
That's a great way to put it. And those product codes, they're made up of our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions. If we're always coming from a place of fear and guilt, we're going to attract more of those kinds of experiences.
That makes total sense. So how do we change our product code then? How do we shift to a frequency that's a better match for what we really want?
It's all about consciously choosing thoughts, beliefs, and actions that are aligned with the reality we want to create. It means focusing on what we do want, not what we're afraid of. And it means taking action that's true to who we are, even if it feels a little uncomfortable or bad at first.
So basically retraining our minds to focus on the positive and taking action, even if it means getting outside our comfort zone.
Exactly. And it's super important to remember this is a journey, not like a one-time thing. There are going to be times when you slip back into those old patterns. The fears and doubts will creep back in. But the key is to keep practicing. Keep choosing that frequency you want, even when it feels tough.
There's something you said earlier really stuck with me, the idea that love is a more powerful motivator than fear. But it feels like sometimes those fears are so deep down, it's almost impossible to get rid of them.
I think that's because a lot of those fears come from things that happened in the past, times when maybe we were punished or rejected for being ourselves. But those experiences don't have to define us forever. We have the power to choose a different story for ourselves.
So it's about recognizing that those fears are just echoes of the past, not necessarily true in the present.
Right, and the more you choose to act from a place of love and authenticity, the weaker those old fears get. It's like you're building a new pathway in your brain, a pathway that's all about self-acceptance and empowerment.
That's such a cool way to think about it. It's like we're actually rewiring our brains for success and happiness just by choosing our thoughts and actions. But let's be real here, there are going to be people who just don't get it right. People who might judge us for not following those good person expectations. What do we do about that?
Well, I think the most important thing is to remember that not everyone is going to understand your journey, and their reaction is more about them than it is about you.
So it's about not needing their approval.
Exactly. You are worthy regardless of what anyone else thinks. And honestly, the people who are meant to be in your life will support you no matter what, even if they don't always understand.
Okay, so we talked about awareness, choosing our frequency, letting go of the need for approval, but there's one more thing I'm kind of curious about. That whole idea of good things happening to bad people and vice versa just seems so unfair sometimes.
I know, right? It can seem that way, but if we think about it in terms of frequency, it actually starts to make a lot more sense.
So you're saying it's not really about being good or bad in the way we usually think about it, but more about the energy we're putting out there?
Yeah, exactly. It goes back to that product code idea. If your energy is all about fear and lack and negativity, well, you're going to attract more. But if you're vibrating at a higher frequency, more love, abundance, joy, that's what you're going to see more of.
So it's like we're magnets attracting experiences that match our vibe.
Exactly. And it's not about judging ourselves or other people for where they are on that spectrum, right? It's about recognizing that we actually have the power to change our frequency, to choose a different product code if we don't like what we're getting.
So if someone keeps attracting negative experiences, it's not because they're a bad person. It's just that their energy isn't matching up with what they really want.
That's it. And that's where the real work comes in, becoming aware of those beliefs and fears that are holding us back, and then making a conscious choice to shift our energy to a higher level.
Okay, so we've talked about the social contract, the fear of breaking free, choosing our frequency. But how does all this tie back to manifesting our desires? That's what this whole deep dive is about, right?
It's all connected. When you break free from that social contract and let go of those good person limitations, you're basically clearing the way for your desires to show up in your life. You're not pushing them away with that fear and guilt of not fitting in anymore. You're opening yourself up to receive all the good stuff the universe has for you.
So by being bad, we're actually becoming more magnetic to the things we want. It's like the opposite of what we've always been told.
It seems kind of crazy at first, but yeah, when you let go of that need to please everyone and follow all the rules, you suddenly have all this energy to focus on what really matters to you. And that energy is powerful. It becomes a force for making your dreams a reality.
This has been such an awesome conversation. It's really made me think differently about what it means to be good, and how sometimes that can actually hold us back from our full potential.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, it's not about being selfish or hurting other people. It's about being true to yourself and creating a life that reflects in your dreams. And when you do that, you actually inspire other people to do the same.
It's like we're all connected. And when one person breaks free from those limitations, it creates this ripple effect that can lift everyone up. So if you're listening and this resonated with you, here's a little challenge. What's one small thing you can do today to shed that good person mask and embrace your true, awesome self?
Don't be afraid to dream big and take bold action. The universe has got your back.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time for another adventure in exploring the power of our minds and all the amazing things that are possible that we let go of limitations.